Hello, friends. Welcome to our Learn Science and Chemistry podcast. I'm your host Jitendra Singh Sandhu. In today's podcast, we are going to discuss about vaccines, their types, and what vaccines should be considered for adults. Friends, vaccines are biological preparations designed to provide immunity to a specific disease. They stimulate the body immune system to recognize and fight pathogens like bacteria or viruses without causing the itself illness. Vaccines typically contain weakened or inactivated part of pathogens or its toxins, and they may use a small piece of its genetic material. This triggers the immune system, helping the body remember the pathogen so it can respond quickly if exposed to it in the future. Friends, there are so many types of vaccines. Some of them are as live attenuated vaccines. These vaccines contain a weakened form of the live virus or bacteria that cause the disease. Examples of these vaccines are measles, mumps, rubella, MMR vaccines, and the chickenpox vaccines. There are so many pros and cons of these vaccines. So, pros are like strong and long lasting immune response, and cons like not suitable for people with weakened immune systems. And the second type of vaccines are inactivated vaccines. These vaccines contain killed or inactivated version of the pathogens, and their examples are polio vaccines, hepatitis A vaccines. These vaccines also come with some pros and cons. So pros are like safe for people with compromised immune systems, and cons usually require multiple doses or booster shots for long lasting immunity. There are third type of vaccines like subunit, recombinant, polysaccharide, and conjugate vaccines. These vaccines use a specific part of pathogen like protein or sugar to provoke an immune response. Example of these vaccines are hepatitis B, human papilloma virus HPV vaccine, and pneumococcal vaccines. There are some pros and cons for these vaccines also, and pros are targeted immune response, fewer side effects, and cons are may require booster shots. The fourth type of vaccines are toxoid vaccines. These vaccines contains inactivated toxins produced by the pathogen. And example of these vaccines are tetanus and diphtheria vaccines. These vaccines also come with some pros and cons, and pros are like provide immunity to harmful toxins rather than the bacteria or virus itself, and cons are require booster shots for long lasting immunity. The fifth type of vaccines are mRNA vaccines. These are the vaccines which uses the messenger RNA to instruct cells to produce a protein that trigger an immune response. Example of these vaccines are COVID-19 vaccines like Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna vaccines. There are so many pros and cons for these vaccines are also, and pros include like can be developed quickly and strong immune response, and cons like required cold storage, newer technology with limited long term data. And the sixth type of vaccines are viral vector vaccines. These are the vaccine which use a modified virus, not the disease causing virus, but to deliver a genetic material that instructs cell to produce a protein that triggers immunity. Example of these vaccines are like Johnson and Johnson's COVID-19 vaccines, AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines. These are also come with some pros and cons, and pros include strong immunity response, can be developed quickly, and cons like require careful design to avoid interference with pre-existing immunity to the vector. Dear friends, each type of vaccines work differently and the choice of vaccine depends on the nature of the disease, targeted populations, practical considerations like storage, distribution, etc. Now we are going to discuss about understanding about key immunization for lifelong health and vaccines for adults. Friends, there are several vaccines that adults should consider taking to maintain immunity and prevent the spread of infectious diseases. While childhood vaccinations offer long lasting protection, immunity can wane over time. And certain vaccinations are essential for adults due to lifestyle, age, occupation, and travel. Here we are going to discuss about some vaccines which are generally recommended for adults. So first is influenza flu vaccines. Friends, influenza flu vaccines is recommended for all adults, especially those over 65, pregnant women and people with chronic health conditions like asthma, diarrhea, heart diseases. Why these vaccines are recommended? Because these are for flu viruses and flu viruses change their each year, so annual vaccination is necessary to stay protected, and their general frequencies are about every year. However, you should consider with your doctor before taking any virus, and also describe your health conditions before taking virus. The second vaccines generally recommended for adults are tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis, Tdap vaccine, and these are recommended for all adults who haven't received a Tdap booster dose, and this vaccine is generally taken every 10 years for tetanus and diphtheria. This vaccine is recommended because this protects against tetanus, lockjaw, diphtheria, pertussis, whooping cough, and pertussis can be particularly dangerous for infants, so caregivers and adults around babies should be vaccinated. Friends, the frequency for Tdap is once and Td for every 10 years. However, this is also taken with the consideration discussion with your doctors. Third vaccine is shingles, herpes zoster vaccine, and it is recommended for adults over 50 years or older. This is also recommended because shingles is caused by the reactivation of the chickenpox virus, which can lead to painful rashes and complications. The vaccine significantly reduces the risk of developing shingles and its complications such as prosthetic neuralgia, difficult word. Frequency is 2-dose series of the combination single vaccines. However, this is also taken with considering your doctors. Fourth vaccine is pneumococcal vaccine. It is recommended generally for adults over 65 years age or younger adults sometimes with certain chronic conditions like heart disease, diabetes, and lung disease. This is recommended because it helps to protect you against pneumococcal disease, which can be cause pneumonia, meningitis, and bloodstream infections. Frequency for these vaccines for adults above 65 years should receive 1 dose every year or as suggested by their doctor. This is also taken in consideration with a good health practitioner. The fifth hepatitis B vaccine, which is recommended for adults at the risk for hepatitis B, including healthcare workers, people who with chronic liver diseases or diabetes, and those engaging in high risk behaviors like injection, drug use, multiple sex partners, etc. These vaccines are recommended because hepatitis B is a viral infection that affects the liver and can lead to liver cancer or cirrhosis. The vaccine offer long-term protection. Its frequency is generally 2 to 3 doses depending on the vaccine types, and it's also taken in consideration or discussion with a good health practitioner or doctor. Sixth vaccine is human papilloma virus HPV vaccine. It is recommended for adults up to 26 age who haven't vaccinated and certain adults in the age of 27 to 45 based on the risk factor. This vaccine is recommended because it protects against cancer caused by HPV, including cervical, anal, or throat cancers, as well as genital warts. This vaccine is generally taken 2 to 3 doses depending on the age, time, or between dose time. This vaccine is also taken in consideration a good health practitioner. Seventh vaccine is MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella vaccines. So measles, mumps, rubella vaccine is for adults or adults having the age above 60, and it's who received MMR vaccine and do not have immunity. These vaccines is for protecting you against measles, mumps, rubella, and all of which can be caused by severe complications. Measles outbreak are still a concern in unvaccinated populations. Its frequency is at least one dose, and some adults may need a second dose based on the risk factor or health conditions. This is also taken by discussion with a good doctor. And eighth vaccine is varicella chickenpox vaccine, recommended for adults who have never had chickenpox or the vaccine, and it prevents chickenpox, which can cause severe illness in adults, including pneumonia, brain inflammation, and hospitalization. Frequencies are generally 2 doses, 4 to 8 weeks apart. Ninth vaccine is hepatitis A vaccine, which is recommended for adults at a risk for hepatitis A due to travel, work, lifestyle factor, or those with chronic liver diseases. It protects you against hepatitis A, a viral infection that affects the liver and is spread through contaminated food or water. And its 2 doses are generally recommended at a frequency of 6 months apart. The 10th vaccine is COVID-19 vaccine and its booster doses. It is recommended for all adults, especially those with underlying health conditions, pregnant women, and older adults. It protects you against COVID-19, a global outbreak, which can lead to severe respiratory illness, hospitalization, and death. Booster doses help maintain immunity as it wanes over time. Frequency, primary series, number of doses depend on the vaccine type. Booster doses as recommended based on the most current guidelines. Other vaccines for individuals are like meningococcal vaccines, recommended for people at high risk of meningitis, such as those living in college dorms and traveling to certain countries. And travel vaccines, adults traveling to a specific region may need vaccines like yellow fever, typhoid, cholera vaccines for that reasons. Dear friends, adults should discuss their vaccine history with their healthcare provider to ensure they are up to date on all recommended vaccines based on their age, health status, lifestyle, and occupations. Vaccines should be taken after discussing with your doctor. Also, should be administered by certified doctors under their surveillance. Dear friends, all information provided in this podcast are generally to enhance your knowledge and for information purpose only. Dear friends, you can also visit our website www.chemistrynotesinfo.com to learn more about other health issues, vaccines, and many other science and chemistry related topics. You can also buy our books on science, from Amazon or Apple bookstores, whose link is provided in the description of this podcast. Thank you to listening this podcast.